Scientifically speaking, we're sharing the view. From labs to clinics, breakthrough shining through. With minds that inspire and stories to unfold. Scientifically speaking, the future's being told.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media. Our topic this time is AI in education, which will be well explained by our guest today. With over 30 years of experience in IT industry, Armen Balian is a seasoned consultant with deep expertise in education technology solutions. He specializes in helping academic institutions navigate digital transformation. With a robust background in solution, engineering, and consultative approach, he partners with institutions across the Asia-Pacific region to tailor solutions that align with their unique challenges and objectives, effectively bridging the gap between technology and education. Armen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina.
Well, the topic today, Armen, is very interesting to most of people, kids or parents or teachers. If you don't mind me starting by the question, AI has changed the way students learn and teachers teach. Can you tell us how?
Well, that's a great question to start with. But let me start with one item, which is it didn't change yet.
Oh,
But we are
on the way.
on the way to change. It will change everything, not just education.
Right.
So, but definitely the way we are using, or everyone is using AI in different ways, different practices, but there's no uniformity, and there's no, how we can say, the framework to use AI in education
Right.
in the right way, right? But definitely, if at the end of the road, AI will change how we teach, will change how we learn, because at the end of the day, AI will change all the jobs and all how we work, in the market, and this will reflect in how we teach and how we learn at school level, at university level. But definitely AI can help a lot in education in terms of making education or learning more personalized.
Right.
We're going to talk about
Of
how
course.
learning will be personalized. It will make it more efficient, right? And it will enhance how students learn, and it will definitely help the instructors to be more creative in the way they teach.
That's very interesting. But AI is becoming more integrated in education, as you're saying, and it's on the way. But many people still have a lot of concerns, unfortunately. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about AI in learning that you can highlight it to us today, Armen?
Yeah, so definitely there's a misconception about AI and how it's gonna be used, and how it's gonna change the
Right.
way we study and learn, and teach as well. So the first one is that AI will replace teachers. This is the most fear that everyone is saying, but
Right.
definitely it's not gonna replace the teachers.
We're not going to have robots in classes instead of humans?
No robots, no. These things, like, at the end of the day,
Right.
and I've been a lecturer for 20 years, right?
Right.
And I know that teaching and learning is a social activity.
It is.
Before anything else,
Right.
it is a social activity. It is a way of communication between the instructor or the facilitator, as we prefer to call them nowadays,
Right.
between the facilitator and the learners, right? It's not about instructing. Like when we were at school in our days, teachers used to come to the class,
We do.
15 minutes, spell what they need to spell, we'll listen,
See you
it's
later.
a one-way communication, and that's it, right?
Right.
But now it's totally different.
It is.
It's a social interaction. It's questions and answers, and trying to challenge the students' minds to bring the best out of them and make them learn how they are supposed to learn. So definitely the first misconception is that AI will change or replace teachers. This will never happen. It will also, the second one is that AI will change the way, the learning or the teaching to be less personalized.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely it's not. It will make it more personalized. We're going to
personalized.
talk about this point
We will,
actually
definitely.
during this session
Of
now.
course. Oh, well, that's great to hear. Some misconceptions or some ideas that parents mainly have in their mind and teachers to be replaced is not going to happen. Let's relax on that. AI, you mentioned, is a great tool for students, but it can also be misused. Students especially can misuse anything and everything.
Of course.
So how can students use AI effectively to enhance their learning without becoming dependent on it?
That's a great question. As I mentioned at the beginning of our session today,
Right.
AI is used in different ways, right? And without any framework. And we can understand that now everybody's using AI to use in different ways, and some of them, and most of it, is by bypassing the the way that the student should behave or should learn, how they learn, right?
Right.
The way we think, and definitely this is quite important, is that the students, first of all, when they use AI, they need to understand that AI will give back how it was learned, right?
Right.
So if you
It's automated in the end. It's not a
automated.
human.
Like for example, and I'll try to make it in a very simple statement.
Right.
Like when we train AI, we feed in data.
Right.
So definitely and naturally,
It's human controlled.
it's human
Yeah.
controlled. Naturally, when you ask a question to AI, it will give back what
it
they
was
learned,
fed,
what
yeah.
it was fed.
Yeah.
So accordingly, we always say that AI, there's a bias in terms
I'm coming to this one.
Yep,
Yeah.
there's a bias in
Yeah.
terms of the answers that you can get from AI. What we call hallucinations sometimes, which means that the data you ask questions, sometimes it gives you back answers that are irrelevant, right? This is what we call hallucination. And accuracy, we can't guarantee the accuracy of the information as well.
Right.
And this is why, first of all, students, they should question all the answers coming back from the AI.
So they need to use their brains.
They need to use
Yeah.
their brain. They need to check whether the information or the results are accurate and
Right.
correct. They need, of course, to understand how the data has been collected to know whether the data is correct or not.
Right.
And of course, the third and the best thing is they shouldn't use it as a shortcut. And when we say they shouldn't use it as a shortcut, it means that they can't ask AI to write an essay for them.
Coming to that one too. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
They shouldn't. They should use AI, whatever it is, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, whatever.
But it
right?
can do it. Like ChatGPT and many
Oh,
other tools, they can do
They
it.
can.
All
They
right.
can.
Yeah.
Definitely they can. But of course, it is not advisable for the students
Right.
to, copy paste from AI. And because of what I said, like, the hallucination, the bias, inaccurate information, and so on and so forth. We're
Right.
going to talk more in details about
We
this
will.
point.
It's just the questions are bringing
Yes.
themselves together. I just wanted to ask you, maybe not in the right time, but while we're there, how can the teachers tell if the student did get ChatGPT to do their essay for them or not?
It's quite
It's
easy.
different. Yeah. Oh, is
It's
it?
quite easy.
Oh, busted.
It's quite easy.
Busted.
As I said, I was a lecturer for 20
Yes.
years, and automatically, and that was before AI, right?
Right, yeah.
And when I used to collect the assignment submissions of my students, and I
Right.
start reading my student submission automatically, because these are my students.
You know their
I know their
style.
style.
Ah, there you go.
I know their level.
Yeah.
Definitely, when I see that the punctuation, the comma, the semicolon, the dot,
Everything
and
is
everything
perfect to ADHD
perfect.
person, for example.
Exactly. This is when
Yeah.
I say this is when I start questioning
Right.
how and why, right? But they might come back and say, well, we used Grammarly tool. Grammarly tool
Yeah.
is like a tool that, you know,
Yeah.
you can give it a paragraph, it can correct its punctuation and so on and so forth.
Yes.
But what's important is to understand or to channel the students' information from their submission.
Right.
And when they deliver or submit their assignment, we need to understand, is it really their ideas that they wrote in it?
That's where their critical thinking comes in
Critical
hand.
thinking is quite important. Now, we need to pause a second here
course.
for this one.
Right.
And because we have AI nowadays, it is not allowed to continue teaching
The
the
same
same
old way.
way we used to teach, right? To give an example,
Right.
you can't give a take-home exam with the same type of question that you can use in a sit-in exam. Right?
I will
ex-
do that easily.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm gonna give my students a take-home exam, the question type should be different. Like it couldn't be like a simple equation that where they can use computers or
Right.
calculators while at home to come up with a solution.
Something where their opinion needs to
It
go
should
in, or their
be
critical
about
thinking.
opinion,
Yeah.
about critical thinking, about, you know, to reflect their personality and understanding. And following that, we need, at the second phase, we need to ask them,
Right.
you know, to present. And this is how we can understand
If that's
whether,
there.
yeah. Now, the tricky part here is if they use AI to come up with that solution, right? And when I question my student about how they brought the information, how they think, and how much they know, and if they were able to tell me everything that I need to know, then good for
Good on them that they used AI in this
Exactly.
way, because they were able
Absolutely,
to
because at the end of the
perceive
day, at the end of the day, what do we need from the students? Is to learn.
Right.
Whether you need to use to AI or any application or a computer or reading a book,
As long
we
as
don't,
they get it.
as
that's
long
it.
as they get it. So there's a big part from the instructors and the teachers, facilitators,
Right.
to make sure that the students, not to follow them up on what they are using, AI or not AI,
Just make sure
but
they're understanding it.
did they
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
or not?
Amazing. You really eye-opened a lot of things for me and definitely for our listeners. Now that you mentioned it's okay to use some, applications or tools powered by AI, what are some of these tools that can help students with studying, research, or organization? You did mention something about grammar.
Grammarly.
Yeah, Grammarly. So is there any other things that...
Yeah, there
can
are,
use?
and definitely since the start of AI,
Yes.
we used to have maybe like 10, 20 apps related to AI that is released every month.
Oh, wow.
Now we have more than 50,000 apps
Oh,
released
wow.
every month. And whether they are big or small, at the end of the day, and some of them, and most of them, they fade out.
Right,
They
yeah.
can't succeed, they can't move on for different
Just
reasons.
like any Apple
Like
app.
any
Yeah.
other app.
Yeah.
Now, what we need to think more about what type of tools we need to provide our kids, we need to provide our students, and I'm insisting on the word providing,
Right.
and not letting them to search and use, because we are responsible about what they need to use.
yeah.
The same way that they select the book that they need to
The
read
book
in the
or
class.
the phonics or the mathematics or whatever, we give it the approach.
We need
yeah.
to select the appropriate application or solution that's using AI for them to use. Definitely, we can talk about what are the characteristics of these apps. But
Right.
now, like one example, a good example that I always give is Hanmigo.
Hanmigo.
Yeah, Hanmigo is a great tool. Well, actually, it is developed by Khan Academy, and it's
Okay.
a well-known academy about education, teaching. It has lots of, books, digital media.
Is it like an
It's-
online library?
It's an online library
Right.
and more. And it's
Okay.
not about one single subject. It can range from history to programming, right?
Ah.
Now, what Khan Academy come up with is a tool, Hanmigo. Hanmigo, it doesn't give answers to the students.
Oh,
So when a student put the prompt
right.
into Khan Academy and say, write for me an essay about this and that. Hanmigo doesn't give.
What do they do then? How
So
do they help?
they will start challenging the critical thinking of the student for the student to come up with the answer.
Oh, that's interesting.
And this is what we call the Socratic chatbot or
Right.
Socratic conversation, right? So Hanmigo is one of the examples, right?
Right.
It doesn't provide the solution. It
Triggers you to get it
triggers
yourself,
the
right.
student
Yeah.
to critically think
Right.
about, to come up with a solution. So this is one of the examples. Definitely there are hundreds. There are hundreds. This is one of them if, for example, to come up with some answers. But there are other tools like OneNote to organize their notes, their study materials.
Like
and-
agendas
Yeah,
and- yeah.
Quizlet, for example, to come up with some quizzes, simulations, and so on and so forth. There are many in the market, but Hanmigo is something that
It's like a legend.
I like.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But tools like ChatGPT and automated essay generators, how can students maintain academic integrity and avoid plagiarism?
That's
Because
a good
they
question.
actually give us the answers, right? Not like Hanmigo. They do give us the answers, but we don't want to plagiarize. We don't want to fade our, personality in it. So what's your input on that?
Exactly. So again, we need to understand the purpose of teaching students is to know that they learn something, regardless of the tool, right? Now, going back on your question, how students can put their own prints on their answers, right? First of all, I mentioned something which is quite important, and I put it on the top of the list, which is don't use it as a shortcut.
Right.
Which means what? Which means that instead of saying to the AI tool, whatever tool it is, write for me an essay about this topic, they need to ask or send or write prompts to AI about ideas. And then the student should collect those ideas and build that, the paragraph or the
On their
essay
own.
on their own.
Use it as a reference, kind of.
Use it as a tutor.
A tutor.
A tutor next to the student. But of course, you can't put a tutor next to a student like 24/7, right?
That would cost.
So, exactly, cost and other stuff.
Yeah.
But so why not to use AI to be our tutor, a student tutor? So, similar with a human tutor, the student cannot say to the tutor,
Give me the
write for
answer."
me.
Yeah.
He will say, all right, think about this point, think about that point, and start writing. So this is one way for the student to use AI in a responsible
Mainly
way.
it's how to use it, not why not to use it.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm against the idea to say, oh, no, we can't use AI in education, or we can't use AI in classrooms, or when teaching students, or when we shouldn't allow students to use AI. No, we should.
Why not?
But now it's our responsibility as the academic institution, to come up with a framework. We're going to talk about this one.
Yeah, of
to come
course,
up with a
coming to it.
framework to help students and instructors and teachers and facilitators to know what's the best way, the safe way, and of
Lead
course
the way.
lead the
Yeah.
way, and definitely to help the students best choose the best tools for that. Now, it's not only to use AI to come up or to give back some ideas, right? Also, you need as a student to reference. Like, for example, and we all know that
That was
AI,
a one whole course that we used to learn back in the
Exactly.
days.
Exactly.
Referencing.
How AI is getting back all this information because we trained AI, right? So the training came from books, from ideas, from
That's
people,
true.
companies. So the student's second point should add the citation. This is quite important. In this way, the teacher cannot say, well, you plagiarized. No, I'm citing.
And
The
does
ideas.
does AI, like, is AI a reliable citation reference, or does it give you the citation where it got it from?
So AI can, it depends which AI tool you're using.
Right.
AI can provide you the citation, right? This is one. But of course, the student should double check because we said
Yeah,
that
making sure.
AI
Yeah.
can be inaccurate in terms
But
of the
AI
time.
itself, that app itself, is not a reliable citation.
No.
It's not. So if I tell my teacher, oh yeah, I did it and AI helped me,
No,
that's not a citation.
That's not a citation
Yeah,
because as if you're saying, "Oh, my neighbor told me about it," but your neighbor read it from a book.
Yeah,
so
he's
you need
not
to,
a reliable-
You need to cite the book and not your neighbor.
100%. Wow, that's a very nice way of bringing it to us.
And let me add a third point,
Of course.
which is that the student should follow because this will open up
Yeah.
our second or
Yeah,
next
next.
questions. The student should follow the institution policies, and this is an extremely important point in what we're doing now. It is on the shoulder of the institution to come up with a clear and valid policies about using AI tools, submissions, and so on and so forth, to be followed up by the student and the teachers at the same time.
Right.
So these 3 points will help the student not to be not to say that he plagiarized.
Not to be dependent,
Yeah, or
really.
dependent.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Yeah.
We've spoken a lot about the student and giving them the responsibility what to use or how to use it. But how about the teachers, Armen? AI has the potential to make teaching more efficient. How can the teachers incorporate AI into their classrooms while making students engaged in critical thinking, as we mentioned before?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And especially that AI, it's still in its baby steps.
Right.
And we know that teachers, instructors, facilitators, they don't know enough for many
it's new
reasons.
to them too,
It's
right?
new for them
Yeah.
for many reasons. If we have time in this session, we can talk about it. And it's quite important.
Right.
But what I can say is, first of all, the instructors should use AI to enhance the critical thinking of the students, right? And this is why I said we need, as instructors, we need to change the way we teach.
Yeah.
So, and we will see it down the road later on,
Right.
that the way we teach now is going to be totally changed later on.
It has changed since we were in school,
Exactly.
right? So
When the
yeah.
calculators came into the picture.
it was only allowed
right?
in one session or two.
Absolutely. And now you can use it because we changed the way we ask math questions.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So we didn't say nope, you can't use the calculator. We changed the questions. Use it. But you
We
change the
are really
questions.
adapting to the system.
Exactly. So first of all, and there are different tools that the instructors can use to enhance the critical thinking of students, understanding the
Through AI?
Through AI, definitely.
okay.
So to give you an example,
Yeah.
Khanmigo, for example,
Yeah.
or what we call let me call it let me not brand it, right?
Right.
So you can use AI chatbot, for example, and this is a conversation chatbot where the instructor can say, let's say you are teaching a course
Right.
where you need to train your students to be sales representative. And you need to give them an exercise where they need to go and do a sales, discovery, meet a client or a
Create a
prospect.
scenario.
So you can use a chatbot and give it the scenario and use the student as the sales rep and the chatbot as the prospect or the client to meet with.
Right.
So that conversation tool, how it can help the student.
Like
So
a
it'll
real
help-
case in
exactly.
front of them.
It's a real life scenario where the student will start either talking or typing the questions. Let's say.
Integrated into the
exactly.
scenario, yeah.
And chatbot will respond as if that chatbot is the prospect.
smart.
The student will give another question, the chatbot will respond,
Right.
and then all these conversation, right? The thread of conversation can be reviewed by the instructor to see to assess the student capability in negotiation,
wow.
in arguing, and then the instructor can help the student to to understand how they can communicate with the clients. So this is one example.
Right.
So again, we don't want to use AI as a shortcut. Given a question, give us the answer.
Different
No,
style,
we need to
totally.
use it to enhance the critical thinking. And there are different ways. Like, for example, this is what we call debate, right?
Right.
Or like a debate, for example. Another way is to use a chatbot as Socratic thinking. I believe I mentioned this one before. Like, we ask the AI about some topics, but AI shouldn't give me the answer. They should
Triggers.
challenge me with more questions for me to go back and read more, maybe, or investigate more, and come back to the chatbot and give my results.
Right.
And AI will again challenge my thinking by giving me more questions. So AI will not give me answers,
Yeah.
will give me critical thinking methods for me to come up with a solution. So this is how the instructors can use AI in their classrooms. They can use it in different ways, like in group work,
Yes.
like in gamification, because we know that you have 30 students in your class, right? All of them are not on the same level of
Coming to
thinking,
that one.
right? So
Right,
you
yeah.
can use AI
Yes.
to understand this. Also, and the last one
Yeah.
is they can use AI to analyze the reports
Yeah.
about the students' engagement, the student performance, and accordingly help the instructor to identify those students that require more help and in
Can
which
be a teacher
category.
assistant, kind of, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
So this is how the instructors can use AI.
That's lovely. Well, you did mention that, we have 30 kids and not all have the same level. My next question was coming straight to that. How can AI help teachers personalize the learning experiences, especially for students with special or different needs and different learning styles?
Oh, that's a great question as well.
Because now we have a lot of, learning difficulties or other, in classes.
I divide them actually into two methods or two paths. You have learning challenges
Right.
and you have the learning preferences.
Okay.
And what's the difference between these two? Learning challenges, which means that I have a kind of a disability, a physical disability that doesn't help me to learn similar to my colleagues.
The mainstream class.
It could be vision.
Yeah.
It could be
Any physical
or
disability.
mind.
Right.
Exactly. So, and the learning preference is how I can excel in learning in the way that I like to learn. As an example, I prefer to listen to a document
Right.
or the
Rather
content
than read it.
rather than reading
Yeah,
it.
me too.
So, if my instructor
Right.
can provide me not with a document, but with the audio format of that document, I'm definitely gonna
that
be
legal?
excelling. Of course, it is legal.
Yeah, because I
And
always
there
tell
are-
my child, just between brackets, right, don't listen to the book. Just read it. It's better for you. And she's just not.
if your son, this is how he can excel, and this is
Fine
how he
with
can
it.
learn.
Wow.
At the end of the day, we come to one conclusion or one question. What do you want from our students or kids? To learn.
To learn.
No matter how. Or
Just do
using
it.
which, just learn, right? And we need to encourage them to do it within the framework that is safe and so on and so forth.
Right.
So, going back to your question,
Yeah.
of course, the instructors can definitely using the learning preferences and using learning challenges. There are different tools that to help them. There are and definitely AI is part of these tools.
Yes.
Like for example, if we go to the learning challenges,
Yeah.
right? There are some tools nowadays that they can, if I have a vision challenge, definitely it will read everything on the screen for
Audios.
me
Yeah.
as the audio format
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. If I have if I'm, let's say, totally blind, for example,
Right.
there are devices nowadays that I can use, right, without reading anything
And
on
they're
the screen.
AI generated.
And now they are equipped with AI
wow.
to help and assist those people, with the, with completing their tasks.
Tasks,
Now, going to the learning preferences, right? Now, there are tools nowadays that you can upload a document and it will automatically transform it into alternative formats, like audio format, Braille format, HTML format. Yeah, definitely. And different type of document type that can help and assist.
And that's not considered lazy.
No.
Okay.
And this is why we call it alternative format for different learning preferences.
Preferences, yeah.
What if you take an example, what if your students are commuting in the morning
Yeah.
and they cannot read in the train because they get dizzy?
True.
How you can help them? Give them the audio format of that document, right? But you as a teacher, you're not techie, you're not techie person.
Yeah, yeah.
You need to have a tool that your student, you only need to upload that document, right?
Rather than me with the older days sit down and read it and make it record
A
it.
student can just download it in alternative format.
Oh,
All these are now available,
nice.
and we need to, make it available to our students.
That's amazing. But we're always talking about the beauty of AI
Yes.
and how it's helping us in a positive way. But I'm sure there are some challenges that teachers would face when integrating AI in their lessons. How can they overcome these challenges?
That's a good question, and there are two levels
Yeah.
to be able to, to rectify or to adjust
Right.
this. First of all, the institution should train their instructors.
Right.
And second, and definitely training, it doesn't mean one-time training. We all know that AI now
Different
is
than yesterday.
different than yesterday
Yep.
and will be different after 1 hour.
Oh my God.
So
That's fast.
the institution should always be up to date and always train their instructors about the best practices and about the best tools and so on and so forth. The second, the institution should provide tools for the instructors, AI tools for the instructors to use
Right.
in their courses and train them for that. And the third, and which is the most important part, the institution should come up with a framework of rules, regulations, best practices, guidelines, let's call it guidelines, right?
Right.
Where the instructors can understand, it's clear for them how to use those tools in their courses without,
Just like when creating a curriculum,
Exactly.
really. Just you have the,
Exactly.
yeah.
Right? So this is from the institution side. From the instructor side, they need to stay up to date about AI. They can't say, well, I teach subject that has nothing to do with technology. Why should I go into this? This is when we say, well, remember, AI can
Yeah.
replace teachers, right? It
Yeah.
will not.
Yeah.
But it will replace those lazy teachers. Let me put it that
Okay.
way, right? So first of all, the instructors should, for their personal benefit, right?
Right.
They should be able, to understand what is AI, what's going on in the world, because this is the future and there's no
Yes.
escape from it,
They
right?
themselves need to
They
be
should
updated with technology.
Update themselves with the technology. They should be able to differentiate between the apps.
Right.
Then maybe they can suggest for the institution better apps and so on and so
yeah.
forth. And definitely they should understand the guidelines of the institution to definitely work accordingly.
Armen, this is an amazing topic. I myself am benefiting a lot, and there's a lot of questions, and I'm
Yes.
sure a lot of listeners have a lot of questions as well. I cannot finish all my questions today, unfortunately, but I cannot keep those parents, like myself, hanging in there without asking some questions from the parents' perspective. We did speak about our students, we did speak about our teachers, but our parents, how they can support the children. Many parents do worry about the AI replacing traditional learning, like we mentioned in regards to teachers. How
Right.
can parents ensure that their children use AI in a way that supports their education rather than replacing the real learning?
Exactly. This is an extremely important question because parents are part of the learning process
They
of the
are.
kids,
Yeah.
right? And they are an integral part of their kids' success.
Right.
Now, parents, they have two things to understand. The first one, they need to educate themselves about the institution or the academic institution where
Right.
their kids are learning.
The
right?
school itself.
The school
Yeah.
itself. They need to understand what are the rules and regulations of that school in
In
terms
regards
of
to
using
AI. Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
in terms of what's allowed to use, what are the apps, and they should follow it accordingly.
So they'll
right?
be enlightened through the institution, really. Right.
And we see a lot of parents, they just disregard all these emails that the schools are sending to parents, right?
Schools would love you now. Please read the emails. Please read the newsletters.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The parents should be involved in that. And again, it's not just to abide by the rules, but also to contribute.
Right.
Now, to contribute, we go to the second thing, which is parents should train themselves. They should understand what's AI. What are the they should
Update
they own
themselves.
their own homework as well. And of course they can participate with the institution in terms of advising, giving some ideas. Definitely, schools love that, right?
Yeah.
So this is a relationship between institution and the parents. Now, between the parents and the kids,
Right.
definitely the parents should oversee what their kids are doing, not only for AI, but in general, right?
Safety.
And safety in general. So AI definitely is a part of the education. They should know what AI tools that the kids are using,
Right.
how much they are using it. Is it just to
Given.
as a shortcut, as I said before, like taking the answers and copying it as is? If this is the case, then definitely they should teach or train their kids to how
To use
what's
it
the best
wisely.
way to
Yeah.
how what's the best way to use it. Definitely this is a good one, and definitely parents should understand one important part: the tool that the kids are using, where they are saved, where they are going. Does or is the information that the kids are feeding into the system, the AI tool that they are using, does it contain PII, personal information? Because those information that might be stored somewhere, and we know that data security, there's a lot of breaching there, right? So they should educate their kids about how to use AI, what type of information they can feed into the system.
Very similar to cybersecurity, kind
Exactly.
of. Right. That's interesting. We did mention, the integration between the teachers and the parents and
Correct.
the parents and the students just right now. And just like myself and many other parents, we look a lot next to our kids, how they're using YouTube, how they're using Netflix and all that. Is there any red flags we should look out for when children are using our AI-powered learning tools, other than
Exactly.
those you mentioned?
Exactly. Now,
Like real red flags.
again, it's how you use it.
Right. So we should be there to teach them
Correct.
how to use it, just so that we don't reach a red flag.
Because at the end of the day, as a parent, I'm not a techie person to understand how this AI tool has been trained, or
Right.
where it is stored, or where it stores data. So my obligation is toward my kids, how to use it and what data they can feed in.
Amazing. Before we go, because I unfortunately cannot cover everything today, just give us some advice to the parents how to stay informed and involved in their children's AI education. And hopefully the next part of it, we can do it in another episode. Any advice?
Yes, definitely. They need to stay in communication with the school.
Right.
The school where the kids are learning is the right source where they need to educate themselves about the tools, the AI tools, and what is allowed to use and what's not.
Right.
Right? because what works with the school might not work with another school. So they need to follow the
their
school's
guidelines.
guidelines. This is one. And two, they should be curious. They should
The parents
the
themselves.
parents themselves. They should be curious. Like they should, do their analysis, their search, and the information nowadays is available. It doesn't require, a lot of work to do to understand what is AI nowadays, or what are the best apps, or to understand some reviews about some apps, right? So while they're sitting, afternoon time, night time, sitting in front of TV, they can just,
Chat about it.
chat about it with the kids, Google a little bit about, some new tools, and try to understand what's going on in the world, right?
Can I add something to that?
Yep.
Maybe let the parents use AI wisely as well in front of their kids.
Exactly.
Because maybe a lot of parents out there would just get the
100%.
answers from ChatGPT and the kids are watching. Why can you do it and I can't, right?
We should be the right example.
That is true. Yeah, I needed to add that one. Armen, thank you so much for your time today. It was very eye-opening and a lot of information that I hope we were able to grasp all of it. There's much more to come. I am willing to do another episode to go into data breaching and all those topics that we weren't able to cover. But for now, thank you so much for your time. Anything you'd like to add before we end our
I would
episode
like to
today?
thank you, Christina.
Thank you so
and
much.
definitely Aussie Arab, definitely as a company as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me today. And I look forward to have another session as well.
I can't wait
To
because
deep dive into the details.
I know, right? I thought I can cover everything today, and I was like, nah, it doesn't need more than one. But I myself had a lot of questions that I needed to add for the next episode. So thank you so much
you.
again, and looking forward to see you again. As for our Oz Arab Media listeners and viewers, please stay tuned. There's much more about AI and the future world. Stay tuned.